Hello, everyone, and thanks for watching on a new episode of Cellar Talks. And we're here for a special season talking about Tuscany, as we have started a project a few months ago called Tuscany: A Journey Through Five Lenses, with five great Tuscan wineries, and Bibi Graetz is one of them. So today we are going to have a chat with Bibi and talk about the winery, talk about himself, and of course the great wine. So let's see if we can get him in the show. Feel free to drop it in the chat. So we try to answer the questions at the end of the show. And let's see if there we go. I think it's working. Correct. Hello.
Hi.
Good evening.
How are you?
Good, good. What about you?
Fantastic, thank you.
Fantastic. That's what we like to hear. So you've been just finishing a harvest, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You got everything in the cellar now?
What?
You got everything in the cellar now?
Everything in the cellar.
Good. Now the mastery starts to work.
Yeah.
I mean, the rest nature does for you, but now it's up for you to orchestrate.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I'm happy that you made some time to join us tonight. As you know, and most people that are watching us know, that we started a project a few months ago called Tuscany: A Journey Through Five Lenses. And the goal was to show people that Tuscany is more than just Sangiovese, pizza, pasta, and a holiday and villas and Florence. Because the diversity in Tuscany, I think it's something that a lot of people don't really get. And we decided to pick five guests in five sub-regions to show how beautiful Tuscany can be. And I couldn't have had a better guest to start with than you, because if we talk about Tuscany and we talk about heritage and old vines and indigenous grapes, I think we're at the right place here.
Yeah, well, we have. I always had a strong feeling for old vines, for old vineyards, and from I mean the real roots of Tuscany. So both with the reds and the whites, we have always been focused on indigenous varieties, and I don't know why, but I always had the feeling that this was the key thing.
Was the born love for you?
Yeah. So
it's interesting because we have five sub-regions, as I mentioned, but yours is not really a sub-region, because I needed to find somebody who could fit in Tuscany as a bigger picture. So you can go and talk about Montalcino and Montepulciano and Bolgheri, which we're all going to do later in other episodes. But today we're talking about wines that are also even labeled IGT Tuscany. So you don't really adhere to certain regions or protocols. You let nature speak and do its work. And we're very curious to hear from you how you see that, because I think now when we started this project and now when we're talking about your wines, it's clear that there is no denomination or appellation that fits where it fits into. So maybe for the people that don't know, let's start with the starts and how you started with the winery, because it's not like decades. Well, it's decades, but not centuries. Let's put it like that. So maybe we can start with you from the beginning.
Well, I started in Fiesole, no? So Fiesole is in the north, let's say northern hills of the Chianti, of the general Chianti area. So let's say when I started, I wanted to do something special, something really, I mean, something that could really leave a sign of something, and I couldn't really start doing a Chianti wine. I mean, otherwise,
that's not special.
No,
it's nice, but not special.
It was impossible for me, kind of. I had 2 hectares of very old vines with white grapes also in the picture, and I mean, a lot of plants missing because they were very old vines. So I mean, everything about everything but efficiency, you know,
Yeah.
and industrial cultivation. So everything else than that, no. And Chianti wine was something that was, I mean, mass
Yeah.
production, no. So uh, it was not possible for me to start
To
doing
leave your mark
that there.
with that.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but mainly when I started, I just fell in love of the idea of doing wine with old grapes,
Mm-hmm.
with old vineyards. And this was when I started in 2000 was a bit still here in Tuscany was a bit let's say not really update. I mean, I was completely out of the block because everybody was talking about how high density, new clones, new vineyards, new plantations,
There was to start
Merlot.
all over again.
Yeah, it was like at that time there everything was about the Merlot, the Super Tuscans, and all this kind of. It was really in the bomb in the wave of the Super Tuscan, the first really strong wave of Super Tuscan. No,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in the end of the 90s, we started having this new thing of the Super Tuscan, and so everything was about Merlot, Cabernet, and all this kind of thing. So I was starting to do a wine within the kind of the appellation, if you want to call it the appellation of the Super
Yeah.
Tuscan or the category. But I was doing like old vineyards in Sangiovese, Canaiolo, Colorino. It was people didn't really understand what I was talking about. And when you were working with very old vineyards, uh, and where like 30% or even 40% was white grapes, and then you had some plant missing. So I was really, and then I was still, because I was very influenced at the moment by the winemaking of the moment, so a lot of
Yeah.
concentration in 2000. So in order to generate a lot of concentration, we had very low fruits for each plant.
Yeah.
So at the end, from one vineyard, 1 hectare, 1 hectare and a half, we could do like 3 or 4 barriques.
Yeah. It's nothing.
Which is for me was completely natural. But when I
For a
was
family,
telling
it's good,
people,
but not for business.
when I was telling people didn't believe in me. They thought I was just fooling them.
Yeah.
No. So it was quite funny. But it's true. It's like, no. But this. So it was a bit. I mean, I couldn't play the Chianti game. No,
Mm-hmm.
kind of. This is a bit to go back there, no. And so I was fascinated by the thing there. And then immediately I was very fascinated by doing wines that were coming from like really special rocky
Yeah.
soils and things like that. So when I was going around and looking for vineyards, and if you're looking in an old vineyard and thinking that your wines need to be at least 30 years old for starting doing your wines, I mean, you cannot plant. It doesn't make sense to
Yeah.
plant, no. So it was just a second, eh?
Yeah.
Thank you. So it didn't really make sense to plant for me. So for many years we didn't even think about planting. And I was going surfing around Tuscany, looking for old vineyards, and so slowly we started finding some really. I mean, I started with my vineyards in Vincigliata, where the vineyards were planted in the 60s, and so they were already nice and old, and very old compared to all the wave of the plantations that were done in the 2098. Everything was replanted in Tuscany in
Mm-hmm.
98, and
Yeah.
there I thought I was playing with vineyards that were planted in the 60s, and so now slowly we found out this incredible, let's say, incredible vineyards, and they are like 8 years old. We have vineyards that are 98 years old.
Now everybody loves it, but then nobody cared.
At that time, there are people who thought I was completely stupid. I mean,
Yeah. That's interesting because we chatted with Paolo De Marchi before, and he will be later in one of the next shows. And his story also about the old Tuscany and what happened in this period. What you're describing is the same. He was saying people did not have any respect for the old vines and for the vineyards, but now it's different. So if you ask people now, it's clear. But then it was different. So trying to buy some vineyards, it was possible because people wanted to get rid of it. Didn't want to. They didn't care really about retaining the old vines. They wanted to put French varietals in, or maybe replant, like you said.
Yeah, they were. I mean, the feeling that the ones who had the old vineyard just said, "Oh yeah, well, they bring a bit of perfumes
Yeah,
to the blend," but it was
a
not. I
little
mean,
extra.
they, yeah, but they didn't really get the
Yeah.
thing, kind of. And
But for you, it was clear from the beginning for yourself.
well, I fell in love when I was in when I started getting near to the wine. I mean, I was born in Miciliata, where we had 2 hectares of vineyard that
Yeah,
was planted by my father in the 60s, and so and we had this Chianti wine that was done with the farmers, with the gardeners. They came from a farmer tradition, and so we had this fantastic wine in the cellar that was a classic Chianti wine, no enology, just
yeah,
done with the farmers. And so we didn't know anything about wine. No, we just had some. I mean, everybody was in love with our wines, and all our friends, and we were in love with our wines. And we didn't look for other wines, so I didn't know anything about the wine world.
your world was very small at that moment for the people.
Yeah. So when I started uh, getting a bit interested in the wine world, I started going to Italy, and once I got lost in I was alone there, and I was going through the booth, and suddenly I met a DOC, a little booth from a DOC somewhere in Gamba in the north,
Hmm.
and uh, and the guys they were planting the vineyards, and the for becoming a DOC, that particular small DOC, the vineyards needed to be at least 30 years old. No,
Okay.
so, and this concept was so striking me. It was really so fascinating that you plant the vineyard and you cannot do your
Yeah,
wine.
you have to wait.
No, you just need to wait 30 years before it comes to the DSC. No? It was a dream.
But that's you said there was the north of Italy, so a very different world than Tuscany at that point.
Absolutely, but this was just a tiny little thing. It was,
Yeah,
but I just fell in love with it. And so I said, okay, I want to do something like that. I mean, it's too fantastic. So I started looking for old vineyards and started playing with that. So that was kind of the first thing that came to me. And then when I started, I had this old
yeah,
vineyard, so it was fitting perfectly in the plan. And now, I mean, now after 20, 24 years, 25
yeah,
years that I'm like full in for 25 years in the winemaking. Now we actually, in 2020, we managed to finally really find the land we were looking for many, many
yeah,
years. Because we were looking, I was always in love from the beginning with, as I told you before, with stony soils or very old vineyards
yeah.
or vineyards on the hilltops.
Hmm.
No? So from the beginning, in 2004, I was going on the
High
hilltops
altitude
and looking.
as well, huh?
So very
Yeah.
high, no? I was in love with this red fruits and the minerality that was coming out from this vineyard instead of the power, no? Because on
Hmm.
the hilltops you have much more minerality and much more red fruits. I was in love with this kind of things, and uh, this so I was always looking for soils on the top of the hills, and it's really hard to find lands in those places there.
Hmm.
And I didn't want to find, let's say, normally when you find a place, there is also a lot of
Yeah,
houses or a lot of buildings and stuff, so everything becomes too expensive. No? So
yeah.
it was crazy. No?
Different pricing.
And then suddenly, 2020, after we made our new winery here in 2019 in Fiesole, right behind Fiesole, 10 minutes from here, suddenly we found a piece of land of 80 hectares,
Ah,
80,
you can work.
at
You can work with 80
at
hectares.
600 meters.
Yeah.
No? All one plot, south facing at 600 meters. Incredible. No, really, really beautiful. And at the end of the valley, you see the Dome of Florence. So it's kind of like really a
Best
magic place.
view.
A magic place. If you come and see it once, you're going to
Yeah.
realize it's something really special. No? Because you have this amphitheater, like 600 meters, and then all the mountains going down to Fiesole and then down Florence. It's really an amazing spot.
Hmm.
No? And it was all grass. No? So
Yeah.
now I started planting my new vineyards.
This is the first time where you said this is fit to plant. Here, I want to plant
Yeah,
something.
yeah. And now after 25 years of working with old vines and things, I really feel it's cool to start, planting my own vineyards,
Yeah.
and I am still very spontaneous because I don't like all
You
this
don't
clone story. So
like all the planning that goes into that. It's the feeling that you need to have that is right or not.
yeah. So what I do is I find my old vineyards, my plots of the old vineyards. I select the plants we like, and we make the clone. We make our plants from there, and we produce
Yeah.
them. And it's kind of and so I'm not really fascinated by this clone story.
Mhm.
And I don't believe in all the clone story because everything that happened in all the new Sangioveses, all the new
Yeah.
Chianti Guemila, all the new generation of Sangioveses were actually done looking at Merlot, looking at Bordeaux, now looking and trying to make more powerful wines and trying to make more darker wines, smaller berries. Uh, no, it's kind of all these new clones of the new generation is a bit like that, no?
Yeah.
Uh, Instead, the old vines are like big berries, the Sangiovese, the real Sangiovese
Hmm.
Grosso, all the story, yeah? And you have wines that are much bigger berries, and you have much more water in the
Yeah.
whole system, much more drinkability, much more transparency.
Yeah. For a bigger audience, let's put it like that, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's what really fits with my philosophy, no?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're really curious now. We started planting in.
So that's a big change. I mean, you planted it, but you know when you're planting it that you have to wait. I mean, you can use it, but it's never going to be yet in the shape that you want it to be. It takes some vintages and years as well
Yeah,
to grow into the system. Maybe it would be nice to. I mean, a lot of people know your wines and they know which wines that you make, but to get into the story also. Now I'm listening into the evolution of your wines because when you started, as you mentioned, you had a limited amount of hectares. You had old vines, and the composition of both Testamata and Colore was very different than it is these days. Today we are going to taste. We're going to taste 2016 Colore, and we're going to taste the new vintage side by side. But we covered already earlier a story about your Balocchi di Colore, which you released earlier, which is the, as you say, the crayons or the color pencils that you use. And in the early vintages, the composition of your wines, Testamata and Colore, and I think even mostly Colore, but correct me if I'm wrong, was very different than it is now.
yeah.
So maybe you could tell us a little bit about how these wines evolved in the story that you just painted.
Well, the when I started, uh, Testamata and Colore were done with five different varieties. It was Sangiovese, Canaiolo, Colorino, Malvasia Nera, and Moscato Nero.
Yeah.
And Colorino was only Colorino and Canaiolo,
Mhm.
the first vintages. Just
So
a touch of
two varieties only in
yeah,
the
just
Colore.
a touch of
Yeah.
Sangiovese. In some vintages, a touch of Sangiovese, and some vintages just pure Canaiolo and Colorino. No? So then slowly, I think in 2004, I went with Testamata. I went only with Sangiovese and Canaiolo, and then from 2005, I decided to go pure Sangiovese with with the Testamatta. So Testamatta is a pure Sangiovese since 2005, and I did it because I really wanted to kind of put myself in a larger game now, and then say, okay,
I
do something with
limit
slightly
myself
different,
to
but
one variety, and then I want to do the trick with one variety now.
yeah, but also you have something to I don't say to compete, but to see what you are doing in comparison to others. No, there was a lot of other Sangiovese you could kind of really see and take part of a game, no, of a larger game somehow. No,
that's correct. The competition is different. Competition,
yeah,
big words, but yes,
yeah,
maybe.
yeah. And just a second, eh?
Yeah, sure.
Non faccia vedere l'ora, perché io poi alle 8:30 non sta. Un po' guardate. Sorry.
So
And then,
Testamatta, 2005, Testamatta changed into Sangiovese. That's what we.
yes.
Yeah.
And then instead, Colore changed much later because it was majority of Canaiolo, a smaller part of Colorino, and a touch of Sangiovese. And then mainly in the last years it changed a lot because when the production of Colore really started exploding and growing, then I was obliged to make a choice, no?
Yeah.
And so I didn't have enough old vines for
the popularity of the wine made you choose.
Yeah.
As well.
So I didn't have enough old vines for making both the wines. So in 2020, I actually changed already in 2019. I made the first time Colore only with Sangiovese. It growed slowly. The Sangiovese growed slowly. And then at a certain point, when it changed the balance, to play with Colore and Canaiolo, it's really cool when it's the majority.
Yeah.
Then growing with the plots of oak vineyards that we were founding on the way, the majority was always the Sangiovese. So the Canaiolo and the Colore became smaller.
Yeah.
And then at a certain point, they kind of lose sense to be there. No? So in 2019, I realized I was better off with the blending, that it made more sense and was nicer without. No? So from 2019, it became 100% Sangiovese, also Colore, and then from 2020, and today we're going to taste it 2021. But from 2020, I made a very dramatic change. It's a typical me. I'm always throwing the balls in the air. No? I made a big change in the style of the wines, and I made Sangiovese only coming from northern slopes, so northern south side slopes, and one vineyard that is here in Fiesole that is very, very windy and with a very special microclimate that makes these wines become completely transparent. So we have Sangiovese, Canaiolo, everything that's coming from there is completely transparent because of the big wind, and it's all about elegancy and acidity.
Yeah. I lost the audio, so I don't know if it's mute, but can you hear me still? Yes, test. Yeah, I think it's back now. Yeah.
Sorry, I received the phone call.
That's okay. That happens. It's technology, yeah?
Yeah. So instead, I don't know if you heard, Colore is only made by the oak vineyards, which are by nature normally are south facing, but very old, very high up in the mountains, and so you have two complete different wines. One is like since I started in the beginning.
It's losing the audio again. Let's wait a second, and I see it's reconnecting. So for everybody who's watching, just hold tight, and we'll get it back in a few minutes probably. In the meanwhile, if you have any questions, put them in the chat.
I'm
Bibi, there
back.
you are again. No problem. Yeah, I was just saying, if they have questions, they drop it in the chat. But there's so many questions, I don't know how much time we have today. But we'll probably not have enough time. But let's see.
Unfortunately, I must leave at
I
8:30 because
I know,
I have a
busy man,
dinner. Otherwise, I
busy
would
man.
love to stay.
We can write them down, and later we can answer them as well. That's no
Yeah.
problem.
So
But
we have now, since I started, when in the beginning I started in 2000, everything was about concentration, concentration, concentration,
yeah,
and new oak and cultivated yeast and bleeding. Now concentration in the vineyard, now with like dropping the fruits so they have more concentration in the vineyards and very, very low yields now.
yeah,
Then bleeding in the cellar, and then new woods. So these wines were really like, no,
yeah,
really hard wines that, I mean, when you drink them now, you open it 2000, 2001, you feel like people don't believe that they are done 20 years ago or 25 years ago because they still are so young.
yeah. But
No?
they're heavy influenced as well in the cellar.
Yeah. Since that, after that period there, I started already from 2003 to start trying to look for elegancy. And it took me many years, many strange vintages and things, and many mistakes to understand really my way and my own philosophy of doing wine. And we really reached it in after, I mean, the first vintage that we really reached elegancy was 2015. I mean, it took me many, many years to get there. Huh?
Yeah.
And
And now you're still talking about Colore, right? So, or is this also for Testamata the same?
it's for the whole winemaking philosophy, no?
Yeah.
Both Colore
So
and Testamata.
it makes sense that you need time to understand the different parcels and how they interact and how the vines work. Of course, in the end, every vintage is different still, so
See, and
it
also,
takes you
I
time.
mean, also, I was kind of, I started looking for elegancy in 2000, really deeply in 2009.
Yeah.
And in 2009, because it was a very weak vintage, no,
Yeah.
2009 was a very weak vintage in Tuscany. So the wines by nature were like really Burgundian,
Yeah.
no? And I fell completely in love with it, those wines of 2009. And so there was really the turning point where I really started working hard in the vineyard too. And the answer was, okay, 2009 are the wines I love. And what happened in 2009? It was enormous fruits, because the weak vintage means that you have a lot
Yeah.
of fruits and you have no concentration. No? And I fell in love with that. So I needed to change completely my philosophy in the vineyards and start living. I started thinking the whole production in the vineyard in a completely different way. So before we were making our vineyards, we were keeping our vineyards on the leach and never working the soil and never giving
Mhm.
fertilizers, and we were really creating some bonsais kind of, no? The real concentration was done in the vineyard, no?
Yeah.
Then we started changing completely philosophy and say, okay, we need to have larger grapes, and this, so you need to start working and working the
Revise
soil,
everything, and your thinking needs to change completely.
change completely the way you are managing your canopy
Yeah.
and everything. And but before they reacted, it took years.
Yeah.
The plants were not used to it.
And
So
then still you have other factors like climate change, of which you said for me actually it's become better, but the wines become better throughout the temperatures that goes up, because maybe you have now the new vineyards which in the future will also allow you to do different things. Can you tell us a little bit about that, how that works for you? Because everybody talks about climate change and says it's going to be worse, but in your opinion that doesn't need to be worse.
well, listen, uh, I, I I was in love when in 2018. I really started thinking about this change of
Yeah.
Testamata mainly, I wanted to make Sangiovese only from northern side slope because I was in love with the acidity that was in the wine. You know? So in 2018 I still didn't really manage, no, somehow, and 19 also. And then in 2020, which was a very hot vintage, suddenly I just got that little touch of maturation that maybe made me able to do it. No,
Give you
somehow,
the push, little push extra.
little extra push, and it gave me the courage to really manage to go in that direction there. And 2020 is the first time I really dared to do it, no? Encouraged by the vintage, no? And now it's, I mean, in 2020, the last two vintages we made, there is no, in Testamata, it's only northern side slope. The only vineyard that is allowed to go in is the one behind Fiesole that has got really transparent wines. And so for me, and I can tell you, like, also, I mean, the last 2-3 years that were really hot vintages, we have some vineyards down in the south of Tuscany, like south from Siena, quite the hill before Montalcino. And there you see that there is a bit more, I mean, you see that the grapes are a bit more affected from this thing here. But here in our vineyards here, they're like really also south facing up in the, where they have this windy soils is really, I mean.
So you're in a very good spot in terms of the vineyards.
We have had like 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, amazing vineyards. No, so it's really, we're really happy with this last vintages.
That's good. It's good to see somebody positive about climate change, because there's always people seeing problems and how to deal with that. But I mean, it doesn't always need to be like that. I mean, there is different situations, of course.
I mean, as usual, I look stupid when I say something.
Well, I think now you have the right to say something like that after proving what you've done with the wines after 2 decades, almost 25 years now.
Yeah. But I'm always out of the block now somehow.
So you don't care about if they think this about you. Anyways. Shall we go into the tasting? Because we're about halfway, so then it's a good moment to take some wine, I would say. For the people that are watching, I assume that a lot of people know your wines. Some people might not, but today we're mainly talking about Colore. Of course, you have also Testamata, and I will want to talk about that at the end a little bit more. You have also white wines, which not everybody knows, maybe because the volume is also low. So we'll take some time at the end, maybe not for that still. But Colore, today, 2016, we're going to taste next to the new vintage 21, which we reviewed 2 months ago, I think, which is amazing. And like you said, it's getting better every year. So people just need to keep on stocking. That's the best thing to do, I would say. I will let you do the talking to start with, because I mean, you've lived these wines, so I will just listen and then I'll maybe ask you a question or one or two. So talk about the 16 to me and to the people.
Well, I need to come a bit in the mood of the 16. The 16 was a vintage that was very special. I had I don't know, it came after 2015, which was the most perfect vintage in Tuscany. It was incredible, the 15. 2015 was, while I was in 15, you had a feeling of perfection when you was going around. No? Instead, when you were walking the vineyard throughout, I mean, through the harvest, the feeling was that you were like in a sculpture garden. It was like you felt the weight, like if it was bronze. It looked like the grapes were made of bronze. No, and this came out also in the wine after, that you had really deep really a wine that has a lot of weight. No, somehow it's a wine that is has uh, this character of having a lot of weight. No, it's it's beautiful now. It has a very
Yeah,
beautiful nose.
I mean, I'm happy you said it to me. I didn't have it on stock personally. It's always difficult to judge also for us because of course we get new vintages and you have to look through in a sort of a glass bowl. I mean, you work with it every day, but if you can't, you need to think about what will happen. And now we talk about 16, so we're talking about 5 vintages later in the release. So it's got quite some development already.
It's amazing the aromas, the balsamic nose. But with this very depth, no, very deep, no, it. But that's what I love about wines is that you can get just lost in the glass. You know, you can
And
get
if you
lost.
open the same vintage year after year, it will change automatically. There's inevitably it will change.
Yeah.
So it's never ready. It's never. Yeah. What's optimal? It's always the question. Maybe somebody asked, okay, I have to 2018 Testamato. What's the best time to drink it? You answer me. There is maybe not a universal answer to a question like that.
Well, if you want to ask me when is the best time to drink it,
Yeah.
well, it's there is no best time to drink it. I mean, it's always the best time to drink it now somehow because the wines, especially this last vintages where there is zero concentration, we started. I mean, we don't drop any fruits in the vineyard. So if there is a plant that is carries 20 kilos of grapes, we let them go. No, I mean, we then pick them separately and keep them and treat them separately through the whole way. Those plants there are the ones that at the end give the real character to the wine because they have something really special there. No? A plant that wants to delivers, let her deliver. No, kind of. No, and then you have the plants that are delivering less wines. We play with them by
It will
themselves.
balance itself in the wine.
Yeah, we harvest them separately and we treat them separately in different barrels through the whole way until the end of the blending, and this gives us really the possibility of playing and really finding the real balance we need, with all the elements we have, no. So
The best time to drink, it's not. There's always a good time to drink. That's the answer maybe to the question.
I mean, I was having a wine from Capezzana, I think it was,
Yeah.
from 1931, and it was really nice.
You could still enjoy it. You will still be able to enjoy it in 10 or 20 years, probably.
100%.
Wow.
I mean, it was that was 90 years old Sangiovese, and I mean, it was amazing.
Yeah.
You know? So I mean, if it's well kept,
Yeah.
there is always time to play with wines, no?
Yeah, and maybe well, I mean, everybody has, of course, a budget somewhere. I mean, some people have a budget which goes into the sky, but even if you have a limited budget, try to diversify a little bit and not put everything on one vintage, and then open up and sort of rotate in your cellar or in your stock, so that you don't keep on waiting till the perfect moment like that.
Yeah, and also, I mean, we have. I mean, what I was telling you before about the not concentrating in any way the wines makes so that the wines are drinkable immediately.
Yeah.
Also,
So when
so
you produce something, you think about, okay, people must be able to enjoy it when they get it in their hands.
yeah,
There's no sense of letting them wait for a few years to
that's
consume
something
it.
that not everybody is into, no, somehow,
Yeah.
no. So I think it's right that you make wine for somehow for everybody. I mean, it's if you're not into if you're not a collector, if you don't
Yeah.
have the spirit, if you don't have the spirit of it, because I mean, to be a collector, you need to be a collector.
Yeah.
You need to be a spirit of a collector, no?
Yeah.
And not everybody's a collector. Many people just want to enjoy, the
Yeah.
wine.
That's the
Forget
motto.
about it.
Enjoy.
No? So you need to be able to make a wine that has the potential to be enjoyed from the first moment. But if you forget it in the cellar for 20 years, you can. But also our entry level wines are like that.
Yeah.
Now, if you take our little
Yeah.
Casamata, you can forget it in the cellar. I mean, it's kind of
It will surprise you after 10, 20 years.
for sure. It's a Sangiovese. No?
Yeah.
It's a
It
well-done
never
Sangiovese.
dies.
Yeah, so it's cool.
Yeah.
No?
That's nice. So we have the 16 here. Now we can compare it to the 21 because, of course, this is a release in September, right? If I'm still correct here. For the people that are watching, we have the reviews for the 21 online on the websites. We will also post a review for the 16 and the 20 later. So you can read our opinion about the different vintages and the change in the wine. But you don't want to listen to us. You want to listen to Bibi when he's ready to tell us what he thinks.
Well, there are two amazing. I mean, there are two amazing wines. It's really. I think that. I mean, at this stage, I can't avoid thinking that. I mean, 5 years of bottle didn't harm.
Yeah.
Because it's.
Now you have them next to each other. Of course, it's not fair, really.
So, I mean, here you have still. I mean, this dominant fruits that is really, I would say, it's really gastronomic.
Yeah.
No, if you take a piece of meat, this is going to be. I mean, maybe what makes the difference is that when it is new, I really love to drink new wines. When I'm home,
Yeah.
I prefer drinking younger vintages. No, I mean, with a pasta or not thinking. If I must choose between taking an old wine or a new wine,
you don't want to contemplate on the wine. You want to enjoy it at that moment.
Just about the fruits.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So here you have this explosion of fruits, and you have this fruits, that are very, very dominant. No.
Yeah, I think of course, when you have something that's 5, 6 years older, it's if you have a easy, comfortable chair and you have some dim lights and some good music, you enjoy it on its own. And you can, of course, still enjoy it with a good meal, but like you said, it's the difference between the freshness, the fruitiness, and the vibrancy.
Well, probably. I mean, if comparing this to wines here, you can. I mean, normally when you see the reviews, you say, "Hey, you can start drinking it in 5 years." This is the normal comment.
No, but this is not necessary. You can,
No,
of course, you
I
can
mean,
enjoy it in 5 years, but also now.
this you can definitely drink also now, but I mean, it's not gonna be. It's not gonna be worth after 5 years.
No.
Definitely. I mean, it's gonna be, at least a year. I will give it in the bottle now, and talking about let's say talking about drinkability, in the sense.
But isn't that always the story? Well, always is of course risky to say, but isn't that the story a lot of times that even though you keep in mind you release the wines after a certain period of time, so to give the people that little edge, but to give them 1 year extra at least, that would never really hurt. I mean, it will still, it needs to be transported, it will be stored somewhere, and then in your own environment, giving it 1 year to acclimatize. I think it's always a good thing.
Well, this is something that maybe in a certain point we will decide to do somehow. we have always been thinking, that our job is to put the wines in the bottle. No?
Yeah.
Then once it's in the bottle, it's in the bottle. No?
Then it's the business and the chain, the distribution and the retail needs to do the work.
In any case, when you're buying wines like Testamata and Colore, it takes some time because before they go through the system, and
Yeah.
so I mean, it's not a big problem. But I mean, I don't see it far from the possibilities that maybe in a while we start waiting a year before delivering the wines.
Well, somebody needs to do it. I mean, we talk also to a lot of people in the channel, like distributors and retailers and restaurants, and everybody is pushing the sort of this needs away and says, okay, I don't have the storage, I don't have the budget, I don't have the liquidity, but well, how does the winemaker need to do it? I mean, you also have limited budget and storage, I assume.
Well,
No, but I think, like you said, this is really good to enjoy right now, and you can tell that this is going to has a whole life ahead of it. But it's about what you want. I mean, don't be afraid to open it. That's one thing for sure.
no, that's with all my wines. It's
So we have about 15 minutes left. I want to take some time at the end because I see a lot of people asking questions. So I always, if that's the case, I want to take the opportunity to try at least answer a few of them. But before we do that, I still want to talk about white wines because I had a chat before with your people, and when we were talking about wines, one thing came clear to me, which was not clear to me before, is that everybody knows Colore and Testamata, but when you talk about Bibi Graetz, you have to talk about an island and about the white wine as well. So without spoiling too much, maybe give us 5 minutes to tell about, it's not enough, I know, but talk 5 minutes about the island, the Gigio, and about your wines, your Bianco wines there.
well, I spent my childhood on the island of Giglio, and I'm a water guy. I spent a lot of time sailing in my life. And then when I started to make red wines, I was afraid to get stuck in the center of Tuscany with everything. So I needed to do something on the sea. Yeah? So I started thinking about my childhood and the island of Giglio, which is an incredible place. It's a pearl in the Mediterranean. It's one of the most beautiful islands of the Mediterranean. Small, it's a mountain, 500 meters high for 16 kilometers. The total surface of the island is like 3,800 hectares. And in the history, it was all cultivated with grapes. Now there are only 50 hectares left. And it's all terraces, dramatic, like, I don't know, I would say 50, 60% of hills.
You
No?
put some
All
pictures on
terraces.
the website for people to see, and also on your Instagram, you have pictures of the vineyards there as well, huh?
Yeah, and we have these amazing vineyards are all terraces overlooking the sea, and we grow Ansonica there. It's an amazing grape. It's the local variety there, and it's all soils of granite. The sand it's a sand of granite, and you have this the the sand is something that emphasizes the perfumes. No, so Ansonica by itself, it's not a wine grape. It's more like a table grape, no, and it's not an aromatic grape. So you have these wines that are all about minerality, about granite, about the iodium from the sea. You
A
feel
bit
that.
like Aseptico in that sense, or not?
Well, you have this really feeling that you have. I mean, when you drink a glass of wine, you feel like you have your feet in the water. It's kind of really, you have
The
this
best
water
way to
feeling.
express it.
It's really amazing. Really, really unique wines. And you have all the vineyards are with the blue of the sea in front. The vineyards start from 50 meters from the sea, and they go up at the top of the mountains. And and they really have such a strong influence from the sea that is really unique, you know. So when you taste these wines, you cannot compare them to anything else.
Yeah.
You don't, and they're really, really fine. They're really beautiful wines. So
We,
it's
we're gonna review them later because we have them as well. So we want to tell the people more about it. I know it's a risk because you don't make a lot of it. You try to make more of it, but it's difficult, right?
no, but we have been now planting more vineyards,
You're
all
increasing.
by hand,
Yeah.
all by hand. So I mean, shoveling by hand in the terraces and planting. So last year we planted 1 hectare. The year before we planted another hectare, and we have now we bought another 5 hectares. So we are going to end up with 10
Okay.
hectares of grapes in a short time. And I mean, the potential there is huge. So there is loads and loads of, and when you take away the bushes,
Yeah.
under
Yeah.
you have these terraces that are like a
They were
thousand
there,
years
so
old.
you need
No,
to just revive them.
just revive them and
Yeah.
plant and you go. No,
Yeah. Yeah.
so it's really
So
cool. A very very cool
there
thing.
is a future for more there as well.
There is a future for more, and we are very dedicated to the island. We love the island very much, and this year we took a little bar in the center of the village,
Yeah.
which is the historical little bar of the island that was falling a piece because the old guys were not managing anymore. So we took it and we revitalized it, and it's really fun.
It's your party
We
place.
Yeah, we have a turnover of 150 euros a day.
But you have the best fun that you can get.
But it's fantastic because the wine, I mean, the glass of wine in the island costs 2 euros,
Yeah.
no? So it means that you have 70 guests coming through at least, no? So it's a lot of tourist life, no? It stays open like we make coffee and cappuccino in the morning from 8 o'clock until 12. And then from 5 o'clock until 9 o'clock, we serve glasses of wine.
Not easy to find or to get to, but if you're there, you will certainly never forget it.
And you have
Probably.
all the you have all the old guys playing cards in the bar. It's fantastic.
You've got some beautiful imaging on Instagram, so also people sitting outside and on the steps, and I saw it this summer. I mean, I saw it coming alive online, and it's a beautiful,
It's
beautiful sight
fun.
to see.
Yeah,
So
it's a lot of fun.
that's two wines that you make, the Testamato Bianco and the Colore
Yeah,
Bianco there.
yeah,
Okay. So
yeah.
people keep your eyes out, and in the future there will be more opportunities to buy them as the amount of vineyards grow
Yeah.
in the future. Okay. So last few minutes, some questions before I make room for questions from the audience. I have one question that I sent to you up front because, as you know, we have a few guests coming after you, and the next episode actually is we're going to Montalcino. And yeah, as I said in the beginning, we have very different parts of Tuscany. So Montalcino, we don't have to explain that it's different, but you have a view on that probably. We're going to talk to Riccardo Fraton, and he's the winemaker of San Polo. You know San Polo probably, but did you think about the question for the guy?
Well, actually, I was told about the question just before the live Instagram.
As it
So I
should
had,
be.
so I,
Perfect.
so I had like 1 minute to think about the question. And my question is, I mean, as I was talking earlier in the Instagram, what's the story? What do you think about the all this new generation of Sangioveses that
Yeah.
has been, you know, created the new clones of Sangiovese, all the Chianti 2000 and all this kind of stuff. What do you think about it? No,
It's a
in
good question
comparison
to ask to somebody from Montalcino,
yeah,
as they
in
have their own
comparison to
kind of
the
something.
old Sangiovese also. Well, let me know what
Yeah.
you think about it. Yeah.
I will ask it. I will give you a little bonus. We have later Boscarelli in a few weeks. I will ask them the same question because they also have a very own philosophy about
Yeah,
Sangiovese. So I know that they will like the question as well. I will
yeah,
throw in the bonus for you.
good
Okay,
guys.
good guys. They're beautiful guys. So only beautiful guys in this project. I mean, we only have the best, right? A few more questions. What is the best vintage of Colore? Well, we already talked about it. It's difficult. You don't ask what's your child you like most. This is a question you cannot answer, but maybe you still want to give it a shot.
Well, it's a hard ball because I mean, going back now and tasting 2016, I said, wow, that's a good wine. Well, so it's really hard to say. Uh, I think that I mean uh, we are growing a lot in the winemaking,
Yeah.
and
So the best vintage is your next vintage.
the next vintage is going to be the no, really. I mean, we are especially for me, especially the COVID, was a time that gave me a lot of time in the cellar
Yeah.
and a lot of it gave me suddenly really a lot of time to stay in the cellar and to understand more better what I wanted to
Yeah.
do. And before I was a world trotter, so I'm doing my wines between a trip and the other, completely hysterical. I remember
Mhm.
people dropping me from Instagram because they were getting a headache.
It was not about the vineyards anymore. It's more about the life between.
Yeah, people are, Bibi, I needed to stop following you because I was getting a headache. Kind of.
How could that be? I cannot imagine this.
I was traveling like
Yeah.
crazy from one side to the other of the world, and in the meantime, I was doing the wine. So it's kind of
So
so the
COVID made you improve for yourself and the winery as well.
improve a lot, really a lot. I mean, we started. I remember we were blending 2018 vintage,
Yeah.
and for the first time, my team they started preparing me some some wines and let's start working together. And I said, no, 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 guys, I want to stay here. Now I have all the time I want. I want to stay. I want to taste every single barrel and start from scratch,
Yeah.
bam, bam, and started really.
Reinvent yourself as well.
And it took me, 6 months to make the blend, no, of Testamato and Colore. And it was the first time we got, bam, 100 points.
So you see, it pays off.
Pays off.
Yeah. So the story really is true. There's still leaps to be made in terms of, well, quality is not the word maybe, but character maybe is a better word. Changing in the characters.
Yeah.
Quality, the wine is always good. There is no discussion about quality. I think it's more about
No, it
character.
was funny because my wife was tasting my wines last year,
Mhm.
and she told me, Bibi, you're getting better doing the wine.
It's good that your nice wife says this after about 25 years. You're still getting better, maybe. I like that. She needs to keep you sharp. It's good. That's nice. But I think it's a good answer. I'm still happy we asked the question because I think we learned a little bit about it after this. Then zooming into 2023, just finished the harvest. How was your harvest in 23?
Well, we had beautiful grapes because there was a lot of rain in May and June.
Yeah.
It was really hard there because, but we have an incredible team. We have a team of tractor drivers that we double the size of people in the tractors,
Mm-hmm.
because we are also planting our vineyards in the
Yeah.
meantime. So we are planting the vineyards and we're
Do you
running
have a planting
we are
crew all the time working?
we have a planting group the whole time working, and we have a team working in the vineyard. So we had the possibility to, where normally you would need 3 days to do the treatment in all the vineyards. We could use a window of 1 day.
Yeah.
No, so we had window and we went in and we did the treatments. So we didn't suffer from all the pronospora that everybody had. No,
Mm-hmm.
so we had zero or like 10%. No, in some vineyards zero. No,
Yeah.
of pronospora, and then some touches of oidium. But we have a sorting table here right in front of me, and with 20 people on the sorting table. So every single fruit was cleaned by these little touches of pronospora.
Mm-hmm.
And there was also a heat wave in the end of August that was really hard. So in some vineyards there were some burnings. So we first pick the grapes that had some burnings and clean them all, and then we pick the rest and clean them and also check them. And
Yeah.
so all the grapes that came in were really perfect. So
So you
I
are happy, very, very happy about it.
really beautiful, but big berries, really amazing. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Okay, very good. Thank you. I'm stealing one more question, and then I'm letting you go. The question was, Chianti is all about terroir, especially considering the new subzones and the story about that. I mean, you, of course, I have an opinion about that, but your wines are composed out of various plots, and sometimes they're further away from each other. Sometimes a lot of them are throughout Tuscany. So what are your thoughts about terroir if you have such a widespread assortment of vineyards? How do your wines relate to that?
It's like no, it's like a canvas or a table with all the colors. You have different terroirs. The most important thing is to express the best, to really express that terroir there, and then it's fantastic to play with all these different kind of terroirs, and you can really mix them together, and
So the
it's just
more
a
the better
wonderful thing.
for you.
Yeah, it gives you diversity. It gives you, but at the end of the day, if you add one beautiful thing to another beautiful thing, it's easy to make a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, but you have the luxury of
Yeah.
having more crayons and
Yeah.
more different colors. And if we go back to the philosophy of Bolocco di Colore, it's a child playing with a box of colors, color pencils, and then the more you have, the more beautiful your painting will be in the end. Thank you very much
Thank you
for
very
your time.
much.
It's been a pleasure. I can check somebody off of my bucket list who I've wanted to talk to for a long time, and I'm happy that you spent some time with the people that view us. And of course, we're gonna, like I said, post the reviews of the 2016 and the 20, because the 21 we already have. And we'll take your question and put it.
Taste carefully also 2020 because it's really amazing.
Oh, surely we will not forget that. So thank you for your time, and hello to the people in the team and the family. And
Thank you.
make sure that you keep on doing the good work.
Thank you. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So thanks everybody for watching, and we'll go into our next episodes shortly, which is with Montalcino, San Polo Montalcino, part of the Allegrini family. It's a beautiful estate. We're talking about Brunello there, and this will be on the 3rd of November, so it's going to have a little break here. And then the 3rd of November, but we will announce it on the website as well and on the Instagram. We will have the second guest in our project, 5 Lenses of Tuscany. And like I said, Montalcino is one of the most beautiful regions that we will talk about. And San Polo, and the winemaker Riccardo Fraton will be our guest. So keep your eyes peeled and follow us. This will be online as a recording, so you can watch it later if you missed part of it. And then, of course, we have all the articles and the reviews on Bibi on the website as well. So thanks everybody for watching, and have a good weekend. Bye-bye.